Hi Maxime. Why a WIN video for the go-around? The flight crews are well familiar with the go-around SOP.
Hi Gilbert. Yes, but there are many threats and we would like to present to you the most observed in operations in this phase of flight. Go around in clean configuration.
Pitch setting and monitoring.
Go around near the ground.
No go-around if thrust reverser selected.
Use of manual pitch trim for go around in direct low.
As per SOP, you are not supposed to be on final approach in clean configuration. At least Conf 1 is selected. However, if for any reason a go-around is performed in clean configuration with flaps lever at 0, Maxime, what is the expected aircraft behavior?
On all Airbus aircraft, except the A220 and A350 equipped with a Prim P12, the SRS go-around mode engages during go-around maneuver only if the slats flaps lever is at least to Conf 1 position. Therefore, if a go-around is performed in clean configuration or toga is applied after the flaps lever is set to 0, the SRS go-around mode does not engage and the autopilots remain on the current guidance modes, for example, low glide slope for an ILS approach. In this condition, as the thrust is set to toga, the energy of the aircraft rapidly increases. The flight crew must take appropriate action without delay.
In order to cope with this situation, the flight crew must take over and perform the go-around manually. Immediately after toga selection and AP disconnection for the rotation, the FD must be off to prevent erroneous guidance. The pilot flying rotates towards the go-around pitch target. At the acceleration altitude, the flight crew will set climb thrust and the auto thrust will activate in speed mode. The flight crew will then set the FDs on and select the appropriate modes. The FCTM will provide this technique in a dedicated paragraph, go around without SRS mode.
Gilbert, let's have a look at what happens in the simulator.
Airbus 320, go around.
Airbus 320 going around.
Go around flaps.
Flaps 0.
Man toga, glide slope, lock, auto thrust blue. AP off, FDs off.
FDs off. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear is up.
Lever climb. Speed auto thrust.
Check.
FD zone.
FD zone.
Alt star, heading.
Check.
Manage nav. Alt, nav.
Check.
AP1.
Check.
As you can see, the flight crew must quickly take over. Therefore, to avoid this situation, apply SOPs and do not begin a final approach in clean configuration.
It is important to initiate the rotation towards the go-around pitch target to get a positive rate of climb, and then to follow the SRS flight director orders.
The pilot flying may have some sensorial illusions. Therefore, fly the pitch and trust your instruments.
The role of the pilot monitoring is also essential. In addition to all flight parameters, they must carefully monitor the pitch during this dynamic phase.
Several reasons may cause the flight crew to perform a go-around near the ground. The flight crew must be prepared for this situation and know the threats.
In fact, when a go-around is performed near the ground, the flight crew should avoid excessive rotation rate and pitch in order to prevent tail strike. Airbus receives reports of go-around near the ground where tail strikes occurred due to a high rotation rate and high pitch, sometimes with full-up deflection of the side stick.
Therefore, the first priority for the pilot flying is to fly the go-around and the pilot monitoring to monitor the pitch. Temporary gear contact on the runway is acceptable during this maneuver. Therefore, the flight crew should delay retraction of the flaps and landing gear until the aircraft is safely airborne to ensure that the aircraft remains stabilized near the ground.
Notice that if the aircraft is on the runway when the pilot flying applies toga thrust, config ICAM red warning may occur. The flight crew should disregard these alerts. Let's simulate a scenario of a go-around near the ground due to an ATC order for an immediate go-around.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard.
Airbus 320,
5.
go around immediately.
Go on flaps.
Flaps 3.
Man toga SRS, nav autothrust blue.
Check. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up. Airbus 320 going around.
As you can see, if the engines are already at idle when the go-around is initiated, it can take a few seconds for the engines to spool up, and the flight crew may need to maintain the pitch until the aircraft speed increases. In any case, the flight crew must not initiate go-around if a thrust reverser has been selected. Selection of a thrust reverser means full stop.
The FADEC commands the deployment of the thrust reversers if they are set to rev idle or rev max and the main landing gear is compressed. If a go-around is initiated while the thrust reversers are deployed, they should retract automatically. However, an event occurred on an A320 where a reverser remained unlocked on one engine during a go-around. This event and the logic are described in the Safety First article, Thrust Reverser Selection is a Decision to Stop, published in June 2023.
Airbus analyzed flight data with inputs from 31 operators for 3.4 million flights of A320 family aircraft. The results identified that the equivalent of one go-around per month is performed with a thrust reverser already selected, which corresponds to a significant threat. The SOP for landing requires the flight crew to select thrust reverser immediately after landing gear touchdown. This ensures appropriate deployment of the reverser for optimum aircraft deceleration on landing. The FCOM and FCTM also explain that as soon as reversers are selected, a full stop landing must be performed.
The flight crew must not set the thrust reversers before landing and rely on the extension logic of the main gear compression, because this reduces the possibility of late go-around.
Therefore, as instructor, it is important to remind your trainees that thrust reverser must be selected immediately after touchdown and not before. And most important, once thrust reversers are selected, a full stop landing must be performed. When landing in direct low is expected. Maxime, what is the recommended sequence for configuration management?
Airbus recommends using the standard sequence: flaps 1, flaps 2, gear down and flap 3. One exception is when the failure results in a jammed stabilizer, for example on A320 with hydraulic green plus yellow C-slow press. In this particular case, the sequence is flaps 1, flaps 2, flap 3, and when the approach speed is stabilized, gear down. This ensures that the side stick is centered correctly for the approach and landing when the aircraft reverts to direct low.
Why not use this sequence in all cases? This sequence also ensures that the aircraft is fully trimmed and configured when reverting to direct low.
This is true, Gilbert. But from a human factor point of view, it's very important that the pilot flying includes and uses the pitch trim during the landing configuration phase to be fully prepared for the approach and ready to use the pitch trim in the case of a go-around.
I understand, Maxime. Let's go for practice. Gear down.
Gear down. Flight control direct low.
Use man pitch trimmer. Cam action.
Flight control direct low. Throat lost. Man pitch trim use. Clear flight control.
Clear.
Status.
Stop ECAM. No normal checklist. Continue ECAM.
Status unchanged except direct low. Remove status.
Remove.
ECAM actions completed.
Flaps 3.
Speed check. Flaps 3.
Glide slope star.
Check.
Set go on altitude.
Go on altitude 5,000 feet. Set.
Check. Glide slope.
Check.
$2,500.
Check. In fact, Maxime, the pilot flying must quickly use the pitch trim in the case of a go-around to compensate the pitch-up effect of the engine when toga is applied.
Notice that in the case of the landing gear extension by gravity, the aircraft will remain in direct low, and the pilot flying will use the pitch trim for the remainder of the flight.
Airbus 320, go around.
100.
Flaps.
Flaps 2.
Man toga SRS nav autothrust blue.
Check. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up. Airbus 320 going around.
Thanks, Maxime, for sharing those operational cases that illustrate some of the threats that a flight crew can encounter during a go-around.
Thanks, Gilbert. As you see, the flight crew can mitigate the associated risks with a good awareness and also appropriate training on the different go-around techniques of the FCTM.
We hope you enjoyed this video
And see you around for the next one.